Chief political reporter Jason Zimmerman is live in Milwaukee with a first alert update. Jason.
Jeff, it's a bit quiet right now in the convention forum, inside Pfizer Forum. They just went into recess, but a short time ago, as you mentioned, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance took the stage and was introduced as a vice presidential candidate running on the same ticket as former President Donald Trump. Obviously, the crowd out here, the delegates, extremely excited. They erupted in cheers, many telling me that he was among the preferred choices to be on the same ticket with Donald Trump. This announcement coming just a short time ago. Now, let's go to some video from earlier today. Over the past few hours, delegates will hear from a number of speakers. Some of those taking the stage this week include Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, both of which challenged Trump in the primary before dropping out. Trump himself will accept his party's nomination on Thursday, with his vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance, speaking Wednesday night. This morning, Wisconsin's delegation sat down for the first time together during a breakfast where Senator Ron Johnson was a surprise speaker. Johnson spoke about the assassination attempt on former President Trump Saturday night, telling us that around the time that he found out, it came by text message while he was out on Lake Winnebago. Johnson says it is time to push hard for some unity across the country.
We need to do what President Biden laid out in his inaugural address. 8 times he said his number one goal is to unify and heal this nation. I've been talking about this for a couple of years, and I get criticized for it, right? Well, they're not being unifying. They're doing all these things. I don't want to be like them.
Outside Pfizer Forum today, there was also a large protest. Many people opposing Donald Trump and his potential agenda should he be elected for a second term in office. I did speak to some of those people. More on that coming up tonight at 5 o'clock. Reporting live at the RNC in Milwaukee, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
Our chief political reporter Jason Zimmerman is live in Milwaukee with Your Voice, Your Vote coverage. Jason.
Jeff, the Ohio senator is a firebrand among many conservatives and already proving to be a popular choice among delegates here on the convention floor tonight. He does face a big test on Wednesday night when he gives a speech before a national audience with a lot of independents and undecided voters expected to watch. This is something local delegates tell me will be a big deal. Having front row seats at the Republican National Convention, Wisconsin's delegation appeared on the convention floor for the very first time Monday afternoon, with its 3 members from the 8th Congressional District sharing this picture to show their excitement.
Brown County is a huge contender for the election this year. It's one of 5 counties that will determine the election, and so super excited to be representing Green Bay out of all places.
23-year-old Dixon Wolf is among the youngest delegates in the group. He's hoping to be a voice for others his age who are undecided heading into November's election.
The party's really shifted to focusing on younger voters. We need to focus on the next generation. A lot of our generation is hurting financially.
Just outside the security perimeter surrounding the convention area, protesters also expressing themselves. Down with deportation! All having different reasons for opposing a second Trump presidency.
We got to show up because our rights are on the line, and it's scary to have another second term. And Trump's also trying to get out of jail. That's why he's running to be president, and no one supports him.
That protest attracting a smaller crowd than the 5,000 organizers expected. Also saw a counter-protest involving a handful of people. Still, delegates haven't felt unsafe, and Wolf says his party is united.
I think there's already a lot of momentum going on, especially after the debate. But the convention's just going to light a fire. Whoever Trump picks as a VP, I really encourage him to pick a good one that will win over the hearts of independents and conservatives as well.
And Dixon Wolf finding out just after that interview that J.D. Vance was indeed confirmed as Trump's running mate. And this is coming all as a lot of stuff is unfolding for Wisconsin delegates right now. And this includes House Speaker Newt Gingrich speaking to them early this morning. He talked about the state of politics following the incident with Donald Trump on Saturday, what he had to say coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. Reporting live from the RNC in Milwaukee, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
Our chief political reporter, Jason Zimmerman, live in Milwaukee with those details and your voice, your vote coverage. Jason.
Cammie, the former governor, very energetic while speaking to delegates this morning at the GOP breakfast. Afterwards, I was able to ask him a few questions about Donald Trump's appearance on the convention floor last night and the upcoming November election.
God bless the USA.
It was this moment on the convention floor Monday night where Donald Trump appears wearing a big bandage over his ear that every Wisconsin delegate, including former Governor Tommy Thompson, now calls inspirational and a catalyst for political change.
I think, for how terrible it was for what took place on Saturday night and the near assassination of the president, that what really has come out of this is a feeling and a movement that we're together and we're going to start acting more civilized and more adult-like, and I think that is fantastic.
What does Trump need to say Thursday when he speaks for independents and undecideds?
I'm hoping Trump comes out there and says, for the grace of God, I'm here. I could be dead, but by the grace of God, I'm alive.
State Democrats Tuesday condemning the violence, but not sure Trump will change his ways.
We've seen him over and over read something off a teleprompter, but then within a few days return to form and go for some of the most divisive and angry rhetoric that any politician in this country uses.
Thompson Tuesday morning also speaking during a breakfast for the state's delegates, telling us it's the picture taken of Trump right after the shooting that could lead some Wisconsin voters to take a second look at his campaign.
There's no way that Joe Biden or a Democrat can win without carrying Wisconsin. And I do not see Wisconsin going for the Democrats this year. I see it going for the Republicans. Convention is here. Everybody's loving it. And Trump is coming off of this assassination attempt stronger than ever.
We'll know a lot more about Trump's future tone when he gives his acceptance speech, which is now just about 48 hours away. Reporting live at the RNC in Milwaukee, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
Trump will be among those watching, and he's likely to have a bandage over his ear from Saturday's assassination attempt during that rally in Pennsylvania. That incident also witnessed by a woman who is now visiting Wisconsin. She's sharing that story with our chief political reporter, Jason Zimmerman. He is live for us in Milwaukee with those details. Jason.
Cammie, Renee White made the last-minute decision on Sunday to attend the RNC. Even though she doesn't have tickets to be inside the arena here, she wanted to come to be a part of the atmosphere when Donald Trump makes his acceptance speech on Thursday night. It's a scene everyone at the Republican National Convention won't likely forget as Donald Trump appears for the first time on the convention floor with a bandage covering his ear, where he was shot just a few days ago. In Milwaukee, outside the arena, I spoke with Renee White, who was right behind the former president during the assassination attempt.
And I'm looking at the jumbotron, and all of a sudden I heard the first shot, and like I immediately, and I've told everybody, I don't know whether I actually seen it or it's just I followed the sound, I don't know. But it came from there and I immediately went to Trump.
Take a look at what happened.
In the video during the time of the incident, you can see White dressed in bright blue Trump attire, just over the former president's shoulder on the left side of the screen.
I'm sitting there and people are dropping off this side and people are dropping off of that side, and I'm like this is crazy, like they're trying to get between the seats and the benches, and I'm just standing there and I'm like looking around and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, this is nuts. It was like an out-of-body experience.
White says she's lucky she wasn't hit and feels bad for those who were. She plans to wear the blue outfit she had on at the time through Election Day in November. After attending 32 rallies since 2016, this one has the most impact.
I think when moments like that happen, I think it brings unity. I'm hoping and praying it doesn't bring division. I would have felt the same way if something would have happened to Biden like that. I would have felt the same way. It's not that it was Donald Trump versus Biden. It was the fact that somebody shot at somebody, and it didn't need to happen, right?
White is also excited to hear what J.D. Vance will say to the audience later on tonight. More on expectations from both sides of the aisle at 6 o'clock. Reporting live from the RNC in Milwaukee, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
So the Democrats that are there, Jason, I know Ben Wickler, the Democratic chair, has been in and around the convention this week. How are they trying to shift the focus away from some of this controversy surrounding their candidate?
I think right now they would like to be talking about anything else except for Joe Biden and whether or not he's going to be on the ticket in November. In fact, every time the question comes up, I brought it up this morning and I was told, I said, do you still support Joe Biden at the top of the ticket? The party chair says, absolutely. He's the nominee right now, and as long as he's the nominee, he will have the support of the state party. So that's the message, at least publicly. What's going on behind the scenes, that's going to be an entirely different story.
It is the final night of the Republican National Convention, wrapping up with former President Donald Trump giving his first speech since his assassination attempt.
Many local delegates will have front row seats for the event. Chief political reporter Jason Zimmerman will also watch it unfold. He's live in Milwaukee with a preview. Jason.
Bill, if you are a delegate coming to this convention, tonight's address by Donald Trump is the precise moment you've been waiting for. On the convention floor, Wisconsin's delegation now more excited than ever to be just a few feet away from one of Donald Trump's biggest moments in the spotlight.
This is huge tonight. I think the message of unity is crucial for all of us. I'm just so excited to hear what he has to say. I know he rewrote his whole speech, so this is going to be something very uplifting, and I can't even express the excitement I have for it.
Barbara Bittner is the first ever Calumet County delegate to represent the 8th Congressional District at the RNC. And right beside her will be Stephanie Susek from the Sturgeon Bay area.
It's just going to be an amazing feeling to be in there when he comes out, and the whole place is going to light up and, stand up, and we're going to just be going crazy, I think.
Trump's acceptance speech on national television is also likely to draw viewers who are either independent or undecided voters, plus some Democrats.
I want to see whether Donald Trump finally acknowledges that he lost Wisconsin in 2020 and commits to accepting the results of the election in 2024, whether he wins or loses.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Democratic National Convention now underway in Chicago. The Wisconsin delegation receiving extra attention today from top party leaders.
Focus of the state is as a battleground likely going to continue through November. As Wisconsin is seen as a must-win for both Vice President Kamala Harris and her opponent, former President Donald Trump. Chief political reporter Jason Zimmerman continues to follow it all. He's live in Chicago with Your Voice, Your Vote coverage. Jason.
Bill, this is the first day of the convention, and Wisconsin delegates tell me they are excited to be a part of history here on the floor of the United Center. Many met for the first time this morning over breakfast and received a surprise visit from a key member of the Harris campaign. Wisconsin delegates erupting Monday morning as vice presidential nominee and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz came to personally address them to open the DNC in Chicago.
We're going to show America over the next 3 days is what democracy looks like. It's inclusive. It's joyous.
For delegates like Henry Fries, who grew up in Wapaka County, it's an experience he'll never forget.
We just saw the future vice president of the United States of America speak here, and the energy was amazing. We need to take that energy. We need to bring it home. We need to bring it to Wapaka. We need to bring it to everyone in the 8th city.
He wasn't the only big name to take the stage, with Wisconsin delegates also hearing from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who was clear about the stakes in November.
If we win the House, and I know you have a couple of key seats here in Wisconsin which you're going to win, and if we elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz president and vice president, you ain't seen nothing yet.
On the other side of the aisle, Republican Senator Ron Johnson met with reporters at the Trump Hotel, saying Vice President Harris should be held accountable for the policies of the Biden administration, which have led to inflation and a border crisis.
The minimum the media needs to do is start asking her questions so the American public understands this is what you're going to get if you vote for Vice President Harris for president. And it's not going to be pretty.
On the convention floor tonight, President Joe Biden will be the main speaker. Vice President Kamala Harris will be here as well, watching, and then leave for a rally tomorrow in Milwaukee. Reporting live in Chicago at the DNC, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz taking a short break from the Democratic National Convention tonight.
They hit the road, traveling from Chicago to Milwaukee to hold a rally tonight at Fiserv Forum.
Our chief political reporter, Jason Zimmerman, is live in Milwaukee with a preview of what is expected over the next few hours. Jason.
Cami, supporters of the Harris campaign just starting to make their way through security inside the arena at Fiserv Forum. You can see some of them right behind me taking their seats near the stage. This is the type of rally that Democrats are calling a first for convention week. We're told that the vice president will speak here around 8 o'clock tonight with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Supporters afterwards will participate in a watch party showcasing the speakers at tonight's Democratic National Convention in Chicago, which includes Barack and Michelle Obama. Typically, a presidential candidate doesn't do rallies on a convention week ahead of their acceptance address, which for Harris will take place on Thursday night. However, in this case, the campaign felt the need to reach out to Wisconsin voters in this key battleground state, leading Harris to travel 90 miles north.
This is not the usual thing. This is not the usual ticket. I think for folks who want to move forward as a country, trying stuff that's new, that's interesting, that's exciting, and then they'll bring it all home when they come back to Chicago to officially accept the nomination and give their big speech.
Vice President Harris will head back to Chicago tonight. Once this rally concludes, we will have complete coverage throughout the evening. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
You're looking live at Fiserv Forum, where the vice president and Democratic nominee for president will be holding a rally along with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. So that is where we begin tonight with our political reporter, Jason Zimmerman, live in Milwaukee. Jason, just kind of being a vagabond, moving along with the ticket here. He was in Chicago yesterday, now he's in Milwaukee. But Jason, why is this unusual, what we are going to see tonight in Milwaukee?
Chris, this is something that Democrats are saying has never been done before, where a presidential candidate leaves the host city the week of their convention to hold a rally in a different location. But Democrats also see this as an opportunity. Illinois not really in play. It's likely to vote blue in November, but Wisconsin very much a battleground state. And Democrats don't want to take their eye off the prize here. And so being just 90 miles north of the United Center, Vice President Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, will take a trip up here to Milwaukee tonight to hold this rally.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight, Wisconsin delegates at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago will hear from Vice Presidential pick Tim Walz as he makes the case to voters to support Kamala Harris for president.
Ahead of that speech on day 3 of the DNC, both sides of the aisle are weighing in. Chief political reporter Jason Zimmerman has your voice, your vote coverage from Chicago.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has been very energetic in rallies, and Democrats are hoping to see a bit more of that on stage later on tonight. There's also big expectations for Kamala Harris when she addresses a national audience from here in Chicago. Well, Wisconsin delegates weren't able to be in the audience when the vice president took the stage at Fiserv Forum Tuesday night. They will have front row seats Thursday when Kamala Harris gives her nomination acceptance speech. Among those watching will be Logan Jansen and Henry Fries, who grew up in Wapaka.
We've seen a lot of general broad talking points from the Harris campaign so far, so I really hope that she drills down on some specific policy items that she hopes to accomplish.
Well, I'm sure she'll be wonderful, and I'm sure she'll talk about her vision for the future. I'm hoping she'll talk about some policies that she's going to lay out, hopefully expanding Medicare access, which is crucial to a lot of our communities. Hopefully she talks a little bit about rural issues that affect all of us.
I also caught up with both Attorney General Josh Kaul and Republican Senator Ron Johnson, who was in Chicago for a news conference on behalf of the Trump campaign.
Well, I won't expect much, okay? Yeah, I expect probably a well-written speech. You know, she's good at reading a teleprompter, but that's a long way from actually being president and understanding what made America a productive and successful society.
Kaul says the Harris campaign has shown an entirely different vibe from that of Donald Trump.
She's talking about a positive vision for the future of the country. It's such a stark contrast with Donald Trump, who keeps relitigating the past, fighting about the 2020 presidential election.
Former President Bill Clinton and Nancy Pelosi also expected to speak later on tonight. Reporting in Chicago at the DNC, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
Does she need to start appealing to those types of voters, not only in Wisconsin but around the country, with her speech tonight?
Well, I think a lot of one of the things the campaign has been pointing out is that there were a lot of those independent voters who did not want a rematch between Trump and Biden. Well, now they're getting exactly that, and they're hoping that those voters who don't want a repeat of the 2020 matchup will come to the aid of Kamala Harris and potentially take a second look at her now at the top of the ticket compared to when she was serving as vice president for the past few years. So I think they're going for that. But also, as we've talked, there's been a big shift in the demographic on what type of voters Democrats right now seem to be going after, especially the young voters. I think we're going to hear a speech tonight that is geared towards voters between the ages of 18 and 40 tonight, and not so much older voters, where you've seen Joe Biden target before he dropped out of this race. I mean, there was a huge push for senior citizens, especially in Wisconsin. Biden was popular with that group, not so much with younger voters. I think Democrats see an opportunity to re-energize that particular age group, those younger voters on college campuses, and that could be their bread and butter now through November.
It's the final day of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, but also the most important one for Vice President Kamala Harris.
Harris will give her nomination acceptance speech tonight, with the Wisconsin delegation having some of the best seats at the United Center to watch everything unfold. Chief political reporter Jason Zimmerman is here with a preview. He's live in Chicago with Your Voice, Your Vote coverage. Jason.
Cami, a lot of activity taking place right now inside the United Center as delegates begin to take their seats for tonight's programming, which includes an acceptance speech by Vice President Kamala Harris. We also wanted to show you the view that those from Wisconsin will have. While most of the country will be watching from a television screen when Vice President Kamala Harris takes the stage, delegates like Ann Jacobs from Wisconsin couldn't get much closer, telling us she is super excited with big expectations for what's likely to be said.
Her vision, what direction she wants to see things go. I think it's her opportunity to tell all of us here and all of the folks watching at home what that Harris administration is going to look like, and I think she's going to knock it out of the park.
Being a key battleground state, this is how close the Wisconsin delegation is to the stage. They'll be watching Vice President Harris when she makes her address Thursday night from just a few feet away. However, outside the arena, thousands of protesters are expected, which has been the case for the convention all week. A vast majority are calling on the Biden administration to end the war between Israel and Hamas. Will you support the Democratic ticket if they don't make the change or to meet the demand?
I cannot vote for somebody who continues a genocide. I will not vote for it.
People don't like career politicians.
Republicans will also be watching Harris as Senator Ron Johnson continues to demand she take questions from the media regarding policy issues. Johnson spoke to us in Chicago.
Unless the media demands it, she won't. She can't. I mean, you've seen the couple times when she's gone off teleprompter, it's just word salad after word salad. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like her economic policies will make no sense whatsoever. They'll be very destructive.
However, the governor says it's Harris who has the momentum and not Donald Trump.
I don't have a lot of respect for her.
People are fired up. Clearly, they understand it's going to be a close race in Wisconsin.
You might also remember those cheeseheads the Wisconsin delegation wore on Tuesday night. Coming up at 6, I'll tell you about what delegate is doing with his to make it a very special souvenir. Reporting live in Chicago at the DNC, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
Our chief political reporter, Jason Zimmerman, covering the Wisconsin delegation in Chicago. He's live there with Your Voice, Your Vote coverage tonight. Jason.
Bill, Wisconsin Democrats and just about everyone coming out of the United Center tonight showing a tremendous amount of energy after hearing Vice President Kamala Harris accept her party's nomination for president. What's next is a lot of hard work in the battleground state of Wisconsin, which could go either way this November. After a 4-day convention in Chicago, Wisconsin Democrats now focusing on the next few months while playing off the vibe and excitement of seeing their favorite candidates, including Kamala Harris, in the national spotlight.
What they need to take away from this convention is that there is a stark difference between the policies of Donald Trump and the policies of Kamala Harris. Look up Project 2025, look up the policies of Kamala Harris. You're going to see the differences between the two.
The message of working hard for the win was made clear by Harris during a convention week rally Tuesday night in Milwaukee.
No, we haven't already won. 77 days of work to do, my friends.
Democrats hope to attract young voters, especially on issues like supporting reproductive rights and affordable housing. However, Senator Ron Johnson says he believes Wisconsin is still winnable for Donald Trump. Johnson spoke to us in Chicago.
Absolutely, if we focus on the issues, if the public understands the contrast between what President Trump delivered as president, we are a lot better off under his presidency than we have been over the last 3.5 years. So if the public really gets the truth out of the media, I think we should be able to win this thing easily.
Still, the governor says it's Democrats who have the momentum.
People are fired up. Clearly, they understand it's going to be a close race in Wisconsin, a close national race. But people are ready to go to work, to do the hard work. I mean, this is all fun. This is exciting. But at the end of the day, we need to have people vote.
Security tonight was also extremely tight just a few hours before Harris took the stage to give that speech. Much of the convention floor was blocked off to limit capacity and prevent overcrowding. Reporting live in Chicago at the DNC, Jason Zimmerman, Action 2 News.
Live from the Mothie Center on UWGB's campus, WBAY presents the 8th Congressional Debate.
It has been, and it is now.
Jesse
I understand your passion, and I would encourage you to
Jesse
go
would
forward
like
in
to
this
clarify. Jesse would like to clarify the question to Mr. Weed.
Mr. Weed.
After 2 tumultuous years of politics, our polls are finally closed and the counting is underway. Wisconsin's results could shift the balance of power in D.C. as the nation picks a new president.
Ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom.
Kamala, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here.
And it's not just the White House. Capitol Hill could see some major changes tonight.
And you know what? We're not going back.
Make America great and restore the American dream, right?
It is literally in our hands to bring this home.
And I guarantee you that I will give it everything that I have.
Plus the State Assembly and Senate and more all up for grabs tonight. Our team is standing by across the state to bring you the latest coverage on your voice, your vote. This special election night 2024 edition of Action 2 News at 10 starts right now.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us on this 2024 election night. Tonight, high stakes races across the board, especially for the country's commander-in-chief, coming to a pinnacle. Millions of Americans, tens of millions, casting their votes today. A lot of people voting in that early in-person voting as well. The margins of these races coming down to some razor-thin ones.
As predicted here in the battleground Wisconsin, early polls show the presidential race a virtual tie. The latest Marquette University Law School poll, released just a couple of days ago, shows Democrat Vice President Kamala Harris leading 50-49 over Donald Trump among likely voters over, as we mentioned, Donald Trump. Now, our Action 2 News team live at watch parties for multiple high-stakes races for Wisconsin seat in the U.S. Senate. The 8th congressional race will also join the details of each candidate in just a few minutes. It's still early in the race now for president. As of right now, Republican Donald Trump is leading Democrat Kamala Harris with a 6-point lead. I make that a 7-point lead according to those numbers.
Havdi also mentioning it could take some time for these results to come in from across the state. Of course, we'll continue to bring you the very latest updates right here on Action 2 News as well as online.
But you got to look at that margin. That's a significant margin right there. Donald Trump up 61 to 34%. This is an area that Democrats needed to do well in.
But here at the Lyerly campaign, here at the election party, they are saying it's not over until it is over.
A Walworth County judge has granted an extension for voting at polling locations in the city of Whitewater. It was a request from the Democratic National Party.
Tony, we declared victory here at the Legacy in Green Bay before 15% of the votes were even counted for the 8th Congressional District.
Finally, I'd like to thank President Trump.
His support for me over this campaign is second to none. That's right. You know, and it is truly an honor to have his endorsement. And I look forward to going to work with him in Washington to get this country back on track.